Okay, so let's have a look at our first task, which is to analyse this problem. Got a picture of Nala here, and she's carrying a bucket on her head. So the first thing that we know from the initial problem is that there are 5 people in her household. So how much water does Nala actually need to carry? That's one that you can analyse later. I think what we should do is look at the factors that are most important. And the first factor that we're going to look at is ergonomics. So we'll break that down into its relevant areas and we'll look at anthropometrics. Now obviously this is the human size, so we're looking at finding out the sizes that relate to Nala. So we're looking at things like the hand size, whether or not that's important, maybe the shoulders. It might have straps that go around her shoulders, maybe even what size her head is, because it's very common to be able to carry objects on top of your head. That might be a solution. Now another area of ergonomics that we need to consider is physiology. So here we're looking at really how strong is an 11-year-old girl, whether or not she can actually physically carry this amount of water that we've not yet determined. Another thing, because we know that the distance is 3 kilometres away, is fatigue going to set in? It might be that if we can make it less work for her, that she can actually do it quicker, or she won't have to rest so much or stop. Of course, the other area of ergonomics is psychology, and that's all about how the user feels about using the product. I don't think this is so important. It's more important that this product is functional. So that's probably our next thing that we should look at, the function. What has it actually got to do? Well, we know that Nala's got to walk 3 kilometres with this, collect the water and then come back. We also know that when she gets to the well, she's got to go up and down a 3-metre ladder. It might not be necessary to take the water transportation device with her, but she has got to go down the ladder to collect the water and then back to deposit in the transportation device. So that's a consideration. Now, is she going to carry it? Or could it possibly roll? It might be that it's a lot easier for her if something that she can drag along on wheels. We don't know. We'll analyse that later. One thing that we do know about is the environment. So we're looking at a dirt track here, and we're going to be dragging this thing or carrying this thing over a dirt track, so that's probably going to affect the way that she interacts with it, the way that she uses it. Dirt tracks have got a lot of dust in them, and we've got to think, would this affect moving parts? They might need to be lubricated, and if they get dirt inside them, is it going to affect its performance? Now, something that we can also look at are the materials involved. What materials has she got available, or have we got available to design this from? So we're probably looking at things like wood and metals. Metals can be fabricated. We know from the problem that there's local fabrication workshops, so some kind of metal beating, certainly some wood manufacturing capability nearby. But also with materials, we need to look at the properties. So what's the weight of the material? Is the material going to be able to hold water? You don't want it to degrade in time if it's porous, for example. Now, one aspect that we should really consider for this is safety. We don't want Nala getting injured as a result of using it. So what possible injuries could we have? Well, we could trap her fingers in it. So we need to consider that. She's got small hands. Also, if it's got any sharp edges, that might also be a consideration. What about hygiene? Water contamination. That could well prove to be quite serious if bugs or viruses or bacteria get into the water. Now, she's walking down a dirt path, so it could be that she might slip, or she might fall and hurt herself while she's trying to drag or carry this device. So we need to give this consideration as well. So what we're really trying to do here is ask as many questions as we can about the situation that we already know. We can find out the information later by carrying out research, but the initial mind map is just to analyse the situation that we've got, to break down the problem into its relative areas or factors and give each one as much consideration as possible. So your first page should really be a mind map with as many questions on it as possible that you're going to give consideration to. Okay, so that's the end of our first task. Good luck producing your mind map.